Hi guys, James at Rampant Lion Reviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one, we are going to stick to Sweden and we're going to return to a brewery that has featured on the channel a good couple of times before. I've had some really nice beers from these guys, and the one we're having a look at today is a style that I've never had from them before. So quite curious to see how this one turns out. For this review then, we are going to head up towards Gothenburg once again, Göteborg as you would say in Swedish, the Swedish craft beer capital up there on the west coast. Got to get the Gothenburg catchphrase in when we're reviewing Gothenburg beers, just because channel tradition and all that jazz. And we're going to go to Lindom, to the kind of south of the city, and that means that we're having a look at another beer from Odd Island Brewing. So this particular beer is called the Bullit Ryed. It comes in at 6.2% ABV, and this one is a black IPA. So yeah, very curious to see what this one has in store for us. Black IPAs have been making a little bit of a comeback in recent times, which I've been very happy about because I always enjoyed this style, and I have to say I'm curious to see how Odd Island interpret this one, because the New Englands I've had from these guys, the Imperial Stouts, I'm sure I had a sour beer from them recently as well. All of those have been pretty impressive actually, so fingers crossed this one is as good as the other beers we've had from this brewery, and I hope that you guys watching enjoy my take on this one as well. So yeah, let's see how we got on then. I should also add that this beer was released as part of the Lokal Småskalig assortment through Systembolaget here in Sweden for February of 2021. So yeah, let's see how we go with this beer. So as always with my reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery before we taste the beer. If you want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the video description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews that I've done from Odd Island Brewing before, and you will no doubt see more added to that list in the near future. But there's all the usual social media down there. If you want to see more reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel of course has a geography-based tagging system, so you can go into the homepage and search for beer based on country, city, state, county, province, prefecture, whatever it is you happen to be interested in. Do check out the playlists of beers from different countries. There is one there for all the Swedish beers that I've reviewed for you. That's constantly being added to, and as always, please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. It's always great to hear from you guys that are watching the videos, and the support you show the channel is hugely appreciated. So anyway, to tell you a little bit about Odd Island Brewing then, on to my brewery notes. So Odd Island Brewing, as I've told you before, was founded back in 2016 by Daniel Svensson, who played drums in the band In Flames until about 2015, and he was joined soon after founding the company by Peter Evis, who was the bassist until around 2016. So Daniel mainly works on the brewing side of things while Peter deals with the sales, and they also have a restaurant called 2112 in Gothenburg actually, which is something that I do need to go and check out. But the brewery was originally founded in Fjärås near Kungsbacka to the south of the city, and their first beers entered Systembolaget the year of foundation in 2016. But they started off with a very small 500 litre brewery, and they've recently moved to Lindom, to a brewery that has a 2,000 litre system, and this gives them a maximum brewing capacity of 340,000 litres of beer per year. And they've also got the ability to brew sour beers now. We reviewed, I think, their first sour release a couple of months ago, maybe like November or something like that they released it. But they also have a bar in the brewery now, which was being remodeled when I updated these notes last time, which I think that was just about January or so that I upgraded these notes, or just when I came back to Sweden at the end of January. But as of February 2021, when I'm filming this review for you, these guys have produced 85 different beers so far, and that number is increasing all the time, and they're doing quite a few different styles actually. I'd love to see a West Coast IPA from these guys. In fact, no, I have had a West Coast IPA from these guys at some point. I'd love to see like a big red IPA or something from them actually. A Scotch ale I think could be quite interesting as well. But yeah, that's all I can really tell you about Odd Island Brewing for the moment. These guys, as I say, I've produced some very nice beers over the last little while, and I think I can't remember if I've got another beer from these guys coming in March. I think there might be a session IPA that's about to be released. So yeah, these guys, as I say, I've enjoyed the beers I've had from them so far. I would recommend that you check them out, especially if you're in the Gothenburg area, and hopefully the next time I make it up to Gothenburg, I can go and check out 2112 actually. But yeah, that's all I can really tell you about them for the moment. If you want to learn more, you can check out the brewery website. You can follow them on Facebook and Instagram to keep up to date with all the latest goings on. And you can, of course, check out the Rate Beer, Untappd and Beer Advocate pages to learn more about all the different beers that these guys have done. So yeah, let's get on and have a taste of this beer then. So I'll just let you have a little look at the artwork before we open up. As you can see, it's quite similar to the it is quite similar to what we've had from Island Brewing before. It says on the side here, our lives as musicians have taken us around the globe a few laps, and we've tried a few beers along the way. This is our version of what a good quality beer should taste like, a beer for everyone. So yeah, this should be quite nice. This one contains barley malt and rye malt, hops and yeast. So yeah, I think I paid about 30 Swedish kroners for this one, so roughly about €3, maybe about £2 odds or something like that. It might have actually been, no sorry, I think it'll be 35 kroners for this since it's an IPA. So yeah, 35 Swedish kroners, €3.50, £3.25, something like that. And for American, maybe about $4 for the can, something like that. But yeah, 6.2% black IPA, this one, the Bullit Ryed, and this is review number 6 or so, 5 or 6 that we've done from Island Brewing. A few IPAs, a sour beer, an Imperial Stout was the last one. So yeah, this time we've got a black IPA. Let's get it out and we'll get on with the tasting then. Very curious. Yeah, glad to see that the black IPAs are making a little bit of a comeback. You know, it was a lovely style when it came out, and it was, you know, just kind of getting on form, and then it disappeared when all the New Englands, when the focus turned to the New England IPAs, the haze craze kicked off. But yeah, more and more breweries are turning their attention to doing West Coasters and black IPAs, and there's a few rye and red IPAs and things out there these days as well. But yeah, interesting. So yeah, as you can see with this beer, and as you kind of expect, this one has poured. If we shine the light through it, that's a lovely dark sort of ebony rosewood colour. If you shine the light through it, it does have a nice kind of very dark ruby hint to it, or tint I should say, which looks great. There's a solid finger and a half of a frothy, I would say light beige head on this one. There's 1 or 2 big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass, a few little ones going up towards the bottom of that head there, and I mean overall it does actually look pretty nice. I mean, this is kind of what you would expect from a black IPA. It does have a fairly big head, but I think in fairness, I gave it quite an aggressive pour. So yeah, make of that what you will. But yeah, it certainly looks like a pretty nice beer, I have to say. Nothing overly surprising about it in terms of appearance. You can get black IPAs that are a little bit more kind of hazy than this, but when this one is you know, barley malt and rye malt, you're not going to get too much in the way of haze out of them. Some of them can have a bit of wheat, some of them even have a bit of oats in them these days. But yeah, I get the feeling that this one might be a little bit old school. When it's got the rye malt in it, it should have some really nice bready characteristics. So yeah, looks the part for a black IPA. Let's have a closer look at the aroma of this one and just see how we get on. Really curious about this beer. That does smell very nice. Yeah, where to start with this one then? So straight away with this beer, you get a lovely kind of just brown bready base to it. You can definitely smell the sort of grainy character of the rye forming the backbone of this beer, which is great, and it's got a nice sweet backbone to it as well. One of the things that I often found with the black IPAs, I didn't like the ones that were too black malty orientated. I've always felt that this is a style that needs a bit of smooth bread, a bit of brown sugar in it, and that's when you get it, you know, when you've got the best balance and depth in the malt base. I think that's when the black IPA really shines. You know, I did have some where it was just the black malt was too heavy, the beer became really dry and bitter in the malty side of things, and for me, that just doesn't work. The best black IPA I've ever had, incidentally, is the black salts and body malts from Toil. That's the best one, I think. You'll find out there, and they've just re-released it actually, so if you have access to Toil, keep an eye out for black salts and body malts if you like this style. That's just a ridiculous beer, that. But yeah, there are some very, very nice examples of black IPAs floating around these days. Bierbibliothek, also in Gothenburg, they're quite apt when it comes to the black IPA style. So yeah, the aroma out of this one has a really nice backbone to it. You can smell, as I say, that nice grainy rye sort of quality to it, a nice little bit of brown bread. You've also got a nice little bit sweet caramel in there. There's a good little bit of kind of, you know, McVitie's digestive biscuity sort of things, but the biscuit kind of takes a bit of a back seat to the rye, if you like. So yeah, the biscuity notes are just taking a wee bit of a back seat in this beer, but you know, the malty side of this beer I think goes together really nicely. You can pick up one or two little nutty elements. You can pick up a little bit of a kind of, you know, you can pick up a little bit of a kind of woody sort of thing as well, but those are just kind of minor undertones. It's all about that kind of rye bread. It's got a good bit of sweetness to it, nice little bit of a bread crusty quality. Then you've also got some nice, you've also got some really nice sweet caramelly notes, and also a good little bit of kind of McVitie's digestive biscuity sort of thing in there as well. Like I said, the malt base comes across as having the right balance between breadiness, graininess and sweetness, which I really, really like. So yeah, take a little bit of time and just enjoy that before you get stuck into the beer. But yeah, the hoppy side of things then, let's focus on that. Yeah, so you definitely get a wee touch of earthiness out of this one. There's a nice bit of floral aromaticity to the beer as well, and you've also got some nice kind of big grassiness coming out of this too. Yeah, I really like how I really like how this one comes out in that sense. The green component of the beer I think suits the malty backbone quite well. It's just got the right amount of floral qualities to match up with the kind of grainy rye sort of things, and it's got just a little bit of lighter grassiness there to give you a wee bit of zest to match up with the fruits, which is good. So yeah, the green component for me mainly floral, but yeah, a little bit of grassiness and a little bit of earthiness into it as well. But yeah, on the hoppy side of things then, on the fruity side of things I should say, I'd be curious to know what hop's been used in this. I wonder if it's an old school kind of Simcoe sort of thing, because of the way the fruits are coming out in this one, it's quite rounded and it's just got a little bit of sharpness to it. So I wonder if Simcoe could be the hop that's used in this one. Maybe something like a little bit of Chinook or Cascade as well, because there is something just a wee bit old school about this, because of course you've got the Cascadian Darks and you've got the black IPAs. The Cascadian Dark, I don't know what, you know, from what I remember, the Cascadian Dark was basically a black IPA that only really used Cascade and sometimes a wee bit of Chinook. So, and usually sometimes they were a little bit lower alcohol than the full black IPAs, if that makes sense. It was more like a black pale ale, a Cascadian Dark, from what I remember. But yeah, the fruitiness in this beer, you do get a nice kind of juicy plummy character out of it. There's a wee bit of a raisiny sharpness in there, and you've also got a nice kind of juicy sort of figgy vibe to this one as well. So I really like how this one goes together actually. The aroma out of this beer I think works out rather nicely. Let's just say that, it does work out rather nicely. Yeah, the fruity side of the beer, as I say, nice little bit of raisin, wee bit of a juicier plum. You do get some nice kind of figgy notes out of it as well. I want to say that the beer has maybe just a wee tiny hint of orange as well. There could be a wee bit of Amarillo or a bit of Mosaic in this one or something like that. But I've got a feeling there might be it could be Simcoe, Mosaic and a wee bit of Cascade or something that's in this. But yeah, there's something in my head saying to me that it's Simcoe and Cascade, and I know that these guys love Simcoe. And they do love Simcoe at Odd Island Brewing, so I'm tempted to say it is Simcoe. And it just reminds me of other black IPAs I've had. The little bit of sharpness and a little bit of juiciness in the aroma really reminds me of some of the other things that I've had in the... that reminds me of some of the other things that I've had from Odd Island, from in black IPAs as well, you know, with black IPAs that have Simcoes in it. I'm really getting lots of brain farts these days. Early onset Alzheimer's, guys, definitely. But yeah, the aroma on the fruity side is nice. Yeah, a little bit of raisins, a little bit of kind of juicier plum. I feel there's a wee bit of orange, and then you get those nice kind of figgier notes out of this as well. Some black currants and blackberries coming out of it for sure. But yeah, take a little bit of time and smell the aroma of this one. Just ponder that over. That's always half the experience with craft beer, in my opinion. Take a little bit of time and ponder that over. But yeah, this one is the Bullit Ryed, a black IPA, 6.2% ABV from Odd Island Brewing in Lindom, just to the south of Gothenburg on the Swedish west coast. Let's get stuck in. Slange, skål, cheers. Yeah, this one's interesting. It has got a good wee bit of a roasty black malty quality to it, but then the further you go into the aftertaste, it does start to smoothen out a little bit. Yeah, so this is one of the more roasty black IPAs I've come across in recent times, but it's not overly dry, if that makes sense. Yeah. Yeah, this is an interesting one for sure. I think the more that you drink of this, the more it sort of mellows out a little bit. Yeah. Yeah, that's an interesting one for sure. Where to start with this one then? So, straight away with this beer, in the middle third of your palate, you can feel a nice little bit of a kind of sort of well-fired bread crusty quality. That just blankets the middle third of your tongue. I really like how that goes together. I think, you know, it does dry out a little bit the further you go into the aftertaste, but at the same time in the middle of the palate you get some of the more bready notes and a little bit more of the kind of sweeter qualities coming out of the beer. But yeah, well-fired bread crusty note forms the basis of that middle third of your tongue, and then it does push into the back third of your tongue as well actually. In this beer, it's actually quite difficult to tell the border region between middle third and back third of your palate, because normally in that border region you'd get a slightly stronger, you would get a slightly kind of stronger, how do you say, yeah, you would get a sort of slightly, you'd get a slightly stronger, you know, like sort of bread crusty kind of thing. You would just get a little bit more of a kind of grainy, well-fired sort of thing. But the well-fired bread crust in this beer actually has quite a powerful flavour, and it almost just kind of covers over that a little bit. It's only towards the very back of the palate that some of the roastiness sort of goes away actually. So yeah, the fruity side of things with this beer as well are really playing into that as well. They sort of just balance the beer out really nicely. But yeah, the backbone of this beer is definitely quite roasted and toasty, but not to the point where it's dry, which I think is good. But yeah, on top of that roasty, well-fired, bread crusty layer, you can kind of feel the sort of brown bready notes from the rye just kind of sitting on top of that. The bread itself comes across as quite grainy, but at the same time it's quite smooth. It's not the sweetest of rye kind of elements that I've come across in these sort of beers, but yeah, definitely in the middle third of your palate you can feel the nice sort of rye layer just sitting on top of that. In the very centre of your palate you do have a kind of circle there. There is a good little bit of a kind of sweet caramelly note to it. It's got a little bit of a toasty kind of brown sugar thing, and then as you move further out towards the edge of the palate you will get one or two little kind of roasty toasty elements to it. But like I say, overall the malt base of this one is one of the more kind of toasty and well fired that I've had in recent times from a black IPA, and it's definitely more grainy as well. But when it's a rye malt centric black IPA, that would kind of make sense. I don't know if I've actually had too many black IPAs that are rye malt centric. Yeah, it's an interesting point, Orla. So yeah, need to think about that. I should ask my friend Herben. I should ask him over at Dutch Beer Geek. He calls himself the Black IPA slut because he loves black IPAs. So yeah, I need to ask because I've actually got a Dutch black IPA to review for you from him as well actually. So we need to have a look at that one and see what it's like. But yeah, he loves these black IPAs. I can't think of too many that are sort of rye malt orientated. Maybe he can comment below and let us know a couple. But yeah, this one for me, I think that the sort of dryness that you get out of this one and the toastiness is due to the rye. So yeah. Yeah, but I like this one for sure. It gets a thumbs up from me. It sort of grows on you a bit more. It does kind of mellow out. The graininess mellows out. The sweetness mellows out. It's nice actually how all of that goes together. So thumbs up to Odd Island for this. On the hoppy side of things then, back corners of the palate, you've got a nice little touch of earthiness coming out of this one. As you move further forward, you get a wee bit of a herbal quality there as well. But then as you reach the front corners of the palate, it's got a nice wee bit of floral aromaticity. Round the front curve of the palate, it's a little bit lighter and more kind of grassy, I would say. But the grassiness does have just a wee bit of zesty quality, a zesty character to it as well. Yeah, I like how this one does it in that sense as well. I think that having that slightly brighter floral character builds a good bridge between the graininess of the rye and then the wee bit of zestiness you get from the grassiness does the same thing too. But yeah, the fruity side of this beer I think works does work really nicely in with all of that. This is one of these beers where everything just kind of fits together. As I say, it just goes together really nicely. But let's focus on that fruity side of things now. I don't think we need to say too much more about the malty side or the fruity side of the beer. But yeah, on that front third of your palate, that's where you get that nice oily bubble where those juicy fruity esters just roll their way out of the beer. In that border region between middle third and front third of your palate, you can feel there's a nice bit of a kind of brown bready base to it, and it does have a wee bit of softness to it, but you also get a bit of a kind of grainy, well-fired character there, and then there's a bit of brown bread just kind of sitting underneath that as well, which I think works really quite nicely too. So yeah, nice bit of solid brown, just soft kind of brown bready notes there that you do start to really appreciate the kind of rye bready type nature underneath that front third of your palate there. But when you take the fruity side of this beer in, at the back of that front third of your palate, you'll get a wee bit of raisin, you get a bit of a juicy plum. As you move further forward, you can feel some more kind of figgy notes coming out. I feel that on the front half of that front third of your tongue too, you start to get a bit of an oily orangey note out of this. So could it be Simcoe and Amarillo that's in this one, or Simcoe and Mosaic? Maybe something like that. Yeah, I think a little bit of, a wee bit of Simcoe and a wee bit of a a wee bit of a kind of Simcoe and a wee bit of a Mosaic kind of thing going on with this. There's definitely a bit of that more oily tangerine orange coming out of this beer. But then yeah, you get more kind of figgy notes out of it, and you start to get a few kind of blackcurranty notes towards the very tip of the tongue too. It's not, I wouldn't say blackberry, it's not oily enough and sharp enough to be blackberry, I would say, but definitely a wee bit more. Yeah, definitely a little bit more kind of, how would you say, it's definitely just got a little bit of, what's the word I'm looking for, just a wee bit more of a kind of roundedness and a soft kind of juiciness to it. Usually the blackberries would give you just a wee bit more of a kind of tartness almost. But yeah, I really like how all of that goes together in this one. So thumbs up to Odd Island Brewing once again. So yeah, fruity side of this beer I think is very, very nice. So yeah, interesting, definitely interesting how this goes together. Yeah, I like this one for sure. So thumbs up to Odd Island Brewing for this. This is different, and I would say it comes across quite grainy and quite roasty in the beginning, but it really does mellow out quite nicely. I'm not surprised that these guys have done quite well with this style, to be honest, because the quality of their other beers has been pretty damn good actually. But yeah, in terms of the mouthfeel of this one, then I'd say this is a fairly standard kind of mid-bodied beer. The carbonation is very smooth. It's got a bit of an oily character to it, but at the same time it's got a little bit of a kind of roasty, toasty dryness, which I like. You've also got some nice, you've got a good little bit of bitterness to this one, although I wouldn't describe this beer as being too bitter, to be honest with you. Yeah, I mean, it's maybe about 50 IBUs or something like that. It's not going to blow the head off you. I have had black IPAs that are far more bitter than this. But yeah, nice little level of bitterness to this one. The malty side of things, as I say, it starts off quite roasty and toasty and a bit dry, but then it smoothens out really nicely. You get a good degree of sweetness out of it as well. And I think that really works for it. The fruity note side of the beer is a little bit wet and a little bit juicy. Wouldn't describe it as being too oily, but yeah, it goes together really, really nicely in that sense. So yeah, just enjoy this beer. I think this is a really nicely done black IPA. I always, I don't really session beers these days, but if you're moving over to the dark side of things, this is a good transition from a kind of West Coaster or a New England beer into like the stouts and things like that. So yeah, take a bit of time, just enjoy this one. But I think this is another solid beer from Odd Island Brewing. It's a bit hard to say whether this is one of the best ones that they've done, because all the ones I've tried have been different styles, so you can't really compare them fairly. But yeah, It's another nice example of the black IPA style, and it's another solid beer from Odd Island Brewing, so make of that statement what you will. But yeah, let's leave it at that for this one. This one is the Bullit Ryed, 6.2% rye-centric not New England IPA, rye-centric black IPA from Odd Island Brewing in Lindom to the south of Gothenburg here in Sweden. I've been enjoying the beers from this brewery, and this is a brewery that I do keep an eye on, and I would recommend you check out if you get the chance. But yeah, thank you again for watching my reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comment section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are from Odd Island Brewing. We will return to these guys next month for a look at their session IPA, and as always, please do get in touch and let me know some of those other beers and breweries you guys would like to see me review. Check out my social media, check out Odd Island Brewing, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Slàinte, skål, cheers.